So is Airbnb dead?
A one-bedroom apartment type of Airbnb is pretty dead. People have different motivations for having an Airbnb.
I have a tender spot in my heart for Joshua Tree, but I'm not that well liked there. The smaller towns do not like yuppies coming in and building stuff. You and I are building $1 million house.
Well, we're building a new house. We're not taking a house off the market.
So is Airbnb dead?
I don't think it's dead, but I think it's harder now, and I do think a lot of people have switched to hotels, but there's always people doing group travel that are going to want a kitchen and a living room and maybe a pool backyard situation they can use. So yeah, maybe a one-bedroom apartment type of Airbnb is pretty dead. People are just going to stay at a hotel, but a big house vacation rental, I think people, even though they will hate on Airbnb when it comes to group travel, they end up still picking it.
For sure.
Yeah.
I see the one bedroom versus a hotel. Why not just get the hotel? I mean,
me too.
I understand that. So, and that's why I don't have one bedrooms to be honest. I mean, it's a hard USP.
Yeah, and to have an Airbnb in a building too, it's just I know some people who did it in a condo building in LA and it got shut down. Like they always do, I think. So it's hard to even get away with that.
That's where I started. I started in a condo or in an apartment complex in LA. Made a lot of money in 2017. To this day, I guess I'm not really sure why people would ever have booked that Airbnb over a hotel. My assumption is I was just cheaper than the hotel. So hard to say, but you're in Palm Springs now, and it seems like every year is kind of neck and neck performance wise. Like, what is the general travel trend in the desert?
Generally, it's very busy in the winter and spring, and then summer is pretty dead because it's so hot. But we'll still get bookings for the holidays. So 4th of July, every year someone books for that. Labor Day even, whenever there's a long weekend. And then fall is usually not super busy either, because I think people with families have, they're gearing up for back to school and all of that. Whereas in spring, they're like, get me out of this rainy, cold weather. Like they're dying for spring break. But when they're just coming off of summer, they're like, I'm okay. Fall is kind of cute in those colder markets or areas where most of our guests are traveling from. So fall usually is not very busy, even though in my opinion, it's a very underrated time to go to Palm Springs because the weather is perfect and the city isn't as busy and it doesn't cost as much to heat the pool because it's still like pretty hot out, but not like insanely hot that you just want to be inside or in the pool. So that's kind of what it looks like. It definitely got more bookings, during that COVID time. We went live the tail end of COVID. So when people were doing remote work, more people would book because they could go kind of work from there with some friends and enjoy the house in the city. I feel like since more companies required people to return to office, it's harder for them to even do, they don't want to do a weekend trip because we have to do minimum 3 nights. So it makes it harder in Palm Springs, I think.
But you're in an interesting spot because you're in Palm Springs and I think you're kind of doing Airbnb right, which is you bought the property to use it and you rent it out when you don't. Because like you're at your property so much. Or I mean, I don't know these days, but like from my observance far away, it seemed like you were actually there. Like you and your sister were both there quite a bit.
Yeah, I will say it's been less now that my parents moved there and then my sister bought a house in the desert not that far away. So a lot of times I'll go and stay with them. But before they had those houses, we used it so much. And I still go to Palm Springs once a month and it's fun to go with friends. So I guess that is one thing from the comments that people have a hard time understanding is that people have different motivations for having an Airbnb or buying. For some people, it's like purely investment. Like they want best return on investment. For us, yeah, I kind of thought it would make more, but I knew at the beginning that it was a limited amount of rental contracts. So I always knew it wasn't going to make a really crazy amount because you can only rent it a certain amount of times of the year. But I was excited to have a house to use there. So whereas you don't really use a lot of yours, right? It's more Yeah, so it's like fine for people to have the different reasons, but people get really mad because they're like, well, it's not the best investment. And it's like, okay, I know that,
Yeah, I'm
but I
trying to
use
break
it.
out of I'm trying to break out of that a little bit, to be
Yeah,
honest.
you should
Like
use them.
I got into Airbnb for the whole idea, the premise was like buy 12 houses and have a new house that I could go visit every month. And
Fun.
I bought a lot more than 12 houses and I never stayed at them. Hey, really fast. You know what's kind of funny? When your rentals start bleeding, that's actually when you realize how bad your bookkeeping actually is. Like you think you're cash flowing until you actually look under your hood and realize that half of your profits went to repairs and utilities. Like back in the day when I had costs and I didn't have a bookkeeping system in place, if I remembered, I would take the cost and add it to my little spreadsheet, and that's how I kept track of my expenses. Well, let me tell you, that did not work, and that's why I switched over to Baselane. It's a banking and financial platform that is built specifically for real estate investors. You can have all of your property accounts in one place, you can automate all of your bookkeeping in those accounts, and you can finally see what's actually happening with your cash flow in real time, especially when you have a mix of Airbnbs and long-term rentals with completely different income cycles. Baselane helps you track it all so that you can prepare for the down months before they ever happen. So if you want to get your financial house in order and actually know how your portfolio is performing, then it's time to switch to Baselane. Just click the link down below. It'll cost you $0 to set up. And trust me, this is the best move that you can make before your next slow season. Yeah, so let's talk about Joshua Tree. So we're building a
Yeah.
house in Joshua Tree. I'll kind of tell you like the trajectory of kind of my thoughts and feelings about it. And like you and I set out to build this house 3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, probably the initial first call where we thought about it was like 2021, where we before we bought any land or anything.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say we were serious until we closed on the land and we're starting to do the design planning, which was in 2022. So yeah, 3 years
Okay.
ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy because we text a lot, so it doesn't really feel like it's
Yeah.
been 3 years. But
I
like,
don't know about you, but I get so many people asking about it and being like, what's going on with that? Like, are you still doing it? And for a while, we were kind of like, I don't know, like, kind of just put it on the back burner, I think mutually, which was fine. And now we're like, okay, let's do it.
yeah. So I think kind of like I've been trying to decode it because I'm not a guy like I generally follow through on like a lot. Real estate's a tough one. You can't follow through on every idea, but this was, I mean, we paid 90K. So like, you got to follow through on that. But I think at the time it was sort of like the meteoric rise of Joshua Tree had just ended. And then you kind of see the Airbnb bust stuff and you see a lot of people in Joshua Tree, like basically eating shit. Including myself in that like top year, Conejo was making 78K, then it was 55, and then it was 45. Still profitable at 45K, but like this era, I mean, it was basically a 50% reduction. And so going into it, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, this is a great house. We're going to do it. And then it's all the Airbnb bust, which I didn't necessarily buy into. I've always been a believer, if you're a top 1% player, you're going to be fine. Joshua Tree, though, specifically, was the one market that I felt like I had a lot of friends that weren't, not friends or like colleagues or peers, not doing great. So it did spook me a little bit. And then we round it out, and then I see what I knew all along, which is amenities win. And I met like top tier operators out there, and I've showed you some of their properties.
Yeah.
And like the top dogs in Joshua Tree make like 20 to 35K a month, like gross, on houses similar to the ones that we're building. And that's kind of been what's been happening for the last year. So now I'm like, I'm back. I'm back to Joshua Tree kind of thing.
Yeah, so the pause did make sense because we were both like, whoa, is Joshua Tree kind of dead forever?
Yeah.
What works here? What actually works? Because it's always a place people go for the national park, and there's not a lot of hotels, and it's hard to even build a hotel there. Like, I don't think the city wants a lot more hotels. Whereas Palm
Yeah.
Springs, I feel like there's more and more hotels popping up, actually. There's like the Thompson Hotel, there's a lot of new boutique hotels. Like they're very pro hotel, but then
I've
Joshua
heard that.
Tree, yeah,
Yeah. I have a tender spot in my heart for Joshua Tree, but I'm not that well liked there, I would say, like in general,
oh,
because generally speaking, the smaller towns do not like development. They do not like what they would consider like yuppies coming in and building stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's comical to consider myself a yuppie, but I have to like I'm trying to step aside and put my feelings aside. I understand the NIMBYism a little bit, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like I've only built two houses there,
Right.
like a relatively minor dent. But I think because I had some of the first videos that went viral out there, I did kind of spark a few copycat lookalike houses. Definitely,
Yeah.
there's a style out there that I do associate with kind of like some of my earlier builds, white
Hmm.
stucco with the brown facade, and like you
The
and I actually broke out of
butterfly.
it, thankfully. Yeah. So all to say, I think Joshua Tree is just they're weird about their development because yeah, it increases taxes. People can't afford to live there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, you and I are building $1 million house, which I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like we're really taking away. In my point, and I don't know, I got to be careful with how I say this, but I'm like, if you're building $1 million house, are we taking that away from someone, or is it just like creating $1 million house? If we were like building like $150,000 houses, that I kind of get, I think.
Yeah. And the property taxes shouldn't go up because it's locked in California. Like it can only go up 2% of the price per year, right? I'm not a
Mm,
CPA, but it's different than in Texas or Washington where it's reassessed on the value every year. So if people are saying
really?
that, then yeah, so it's like say you bought that's why there will be houses in Beverly Hills, but someone bought it in the 80s, so their property taxes are extremely low and they never want to sell it because their property taxes are so
Got it.
low. Yeah. So
Yes, yeah,
that's a
yeah.
California thing. A lot of people don't like it. I made a TikTok about it. Yeah, a lot of people don't like it. Obviously, you can see why because if you're buying a house now, like you're paying way more than your neighbor who bought in the 80s. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's kind of just the way it is. Um, but also, yeah, okay, when I first started the Palm Springs Airbnb, we a lot of people were excited and then everyone turned and was like, you're taking away a house from a family. And so that's why I felt good about the Joshua Tree build because I was like, well, we're building a new house. We're not taking a house off the market. We're like building new inventory. So I don't know. Someone's always going to find a reason for it to be a problem, I guess.
Yeah, I always have to I have to think that through all the time because I'm like, I in general understand the sentiment. I think that typically you and I are probably the wrong people to get mad at. Like
Hmm.
people like you and me, like young investors. I do think building a house is very different, especially a high end house. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
could I could I could be more aggressive in my thoughts, but I feel for people that are mad that they can't buy a house. I was there. I've been there. When I bought my house in LA, it was expensive and it sucked because I was broke.
Yeah.
I I tried not my hardest though. I will say this, not to shake my fist at like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. I was never like, how dare them be rich? I'm broke. I'm broke
Hmm.
because of them. I don't think that's the correct attitude. I don't particularly like those guys, so I don't want anyone to think I'm like I love those guys. But I'm just saying
Yeah.
like I always tried to shift my focus to like how I could make my situation work.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, we can't do anything about these like bigger issues. Like, what can you actually do about it? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
So, okay, so that brings us to 2025. We're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, long story short, aside from the fact that there's weird stuff happening in the market, I think you and I always wanted to build a house, but when we got the motivation to do it, which was like every month, we'd be like, hey, all right, let's move the needle.
Mm-hmm.
We got another roadblock every single time with permitting, with like the water department, with just, it felt like at every turn, like the world was trying to say no, and then we would work on it, submit things, and then it was like now you have to do this and now you have to do this, and I've permitted
Yes.
houses in like 2 or 3 months. But this one was actually kind of like it felt like they had it out to get me kind of thing.
It did take a while. I mean, for example, one thing we had to do a road dedication. I don't think most people have to do that. So that kind of took more time. And then upgrading the water meter. Maybe you probably would for a build, but yeah, I mean, what's the fastest someone could do it? They could probably get the permits in Joshua Tree in like 6 months realistically, like start planning and do that, like if you really wanted to. So when people ask me
If
about it,
you
I'm like, it's not really this slow. We're just choosing to do it a little slower. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say permits or sorry, final plans in hand. You could do it in 3 months if like you were on it. Like the moment you
Yeah.
got the notification, you went and like responded. You could technically do it that way, but we just had also just so many things pop up on top of that. Yeah, it was weird. This was a weird one, I will say.
Yeah.
The next one will be faster.
But now we're switching gears because we're going to be paying interest on a construction loan. So we're like,
Yeah.
okay, no more screwing
Yeah.
around, you know?
Yeah, there's true accountability now, right? So
Yeah.
like we're doing a new construction loan. The let's talk about the build price. The build price of this house will be 1.15 million, so $1,150,000, which is like pretty high. I felt pretty good about it. It seemed like an accurate bid. I called my friend who has these, properties that make 20 to 30 grand a month. He builds them himself, and he's done a lot of these and he sold a lot of these. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, how does this price sound for this house and this square footage? He's like, yep, that's what it would cost me. You're right in line. If we build this thing, what is our after repair value? Do you remember that off the top of your head?
It
Our
was like
ARV?
between 1.4 and 1.6, like around there, based on the recent sales, like price per square footage wise. I think it was around there.
Yeah.
I think that's like me being careful.
Yes. Okay. That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say, because I think it's a little higher.
Yeah, probably.
I have a couple
Yeah.
buddies out there that have sold for, 1.7 on for houses that I would say are not as nice, but like they're nice, but I think we have something very different than the product out there.
Yeah.
Usually.
And I think for people to keep in mind with that price, it's not a basic house. It has steel beams, like it's very modern. Like big windows, like slider doors opening up, and that includes the cost of the pool, hot tub, pickleball or tennis court or whatever we end up doing, like all the backyard stuff. So that's like $100,000. It's by itself. So if people are like, wait, how? Like if there's someone who's a builder, I don't know. But yeah, that's part of it.
So yeah, our actual, I guess let's talk about the numbers. Our actual like loan from the bank is for $1 million, 1.03. No, it's $1 million, 3,000, $1,003,000. Is that how you would say that? Yeah. It's just such a random weird that they calculated it. So basically there's $150,000 spread that you and I have to come to the table with. And so basically you and I are like on the hook for $75K each. We figured that out a couple weeks ago. I texted you. I'm like, you good? And you're like, yep, you good? I'm like, yep, let's do it. So all in, you and I will be at the 150,000 range, give or take a few thousand here and there. We're hoping that it's worth, let's say 1.4. I'd be happy with that. I think it'll be higher. So we'll just keep our estimates low. What are you expecting? Like, what are you hoping for, kind of like perfect world, cash flow wise? Hey, like if we could make this much, like what do you think in your mind this property is slated to make?
I mean, based on some of the other similar ones where you said it could do like 15, 20K a month, to me, that would be really great. And having like because we don't have to do a minimum 3-night or whatever, like we can even do weekends, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no restriction on the amount of rentals like Palm Springs. I would imagine like pretty much every weekend booked. Holidays making a lot more. I also want to make a lot of content about the house, and maybe like if things are slow, I feel like there's a lot more that we can do that I can't really do with the Palm Springs house. Like we could have some creators go stay at it and make content and promote it. Whereas it's like, oh, I don't want to waste a rental contract on that in Palm Springs, because then I wouldn't be able to rent it to someone who's actually like going to pay. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's something we could do, which I think would be cool. But I think, yeah, because you've talked to some of the people that you know out there who are doing like 15, 20, 30 even a month. That would probably be like the high season. But yeah, in my mind, it's like crazy to think, because my Airbnb experience is so different because it's so like limited and restricted.
Yeah.
It's restricted in that or in Palm Springs. So I think it'll be interesting. What about you?
So I've looked at the comps very deeply, like very, very, very deeply. Like I've spent so much time in AirDNA. So low end, kind of higher, like the higher end luxe properties on the low end like this make about 200K. I have comps to support 250 to 300K. And then there are a couple that make more than 300K a year. If we made that amount of money, it would be like honestly kind of insane. But like 225, I feel pretty good about that. I think if we could go back and change one thing about the design of the property, one of the things I didn't realize.
I know what you're going to say.
What?
Another bathroom.
Another bathroom.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And I didn't know this. We designed it, and then my friend who makes the big bucks out there, he said that basically when you have people that are spending $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 a night, they don't want to share a bathroom with someone else. And so that extra bathroom, he basically said every room has to have a bathroom. So we have a 4-3. We should have done a 4-4. And that's probably what really would have cemented us at the top of the Joshua Tree market. But we'll still do okay.
Yeah. It should be good. Because one of the bathrooms, it's like a Jack and Jill. I think it shares with 2 rooms. I haven't looked at the plans in a minute, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Something like that.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it now. And granted, I will say there's a couple of nuances here that we can't really like. This is going to be a tough one on us, but basically like we don't have a view. So that hurts us a little bit. I mean, I guess we kind of do. You've been out there. I've been out there too.
They're in the distance.
Squint your eyes and put your,
There's mountains in the distance, but it's not the same as a house set amongst a bunch of boulders at like the base of a mountain. But those pieces of land are way more expensive and really hard to get water and power to sometimes. So, yeah.
We're secluded.
Yeah. We're close to the park.
So
close to the national park.
Yes.
And that's why we did the design that we have, is because the view is kind of the pool. Every room looks out to the pool. So there's like, it's nice to have that water feature when you're in the desert. And I feel like that'll be better than if you didn't have that, I like that it's facing that.
So our kind of all in expenses on $1 million, basically, kind of, because basically we have a construction to permanent loan. So basically, as soon as we're done paying off the construction loan, it conforms to a 30-year amortization. Or we might have to close again. I'd have to look at the documents. But basically, I'm estimating that our mortgage will be in the neighborhood of like $10,000 a month. So just out the gate, we have to make $120K a year to just like pay the mortgage. Then we'll have another $12,000 at a minimum on cleaning. And then I would say about another $12,000 a minimum on like utilities and stuff like that. So that's $24K, $120. We're going to be at about $150K all in with our expenses, meaning that every dollar on top of that is profit. Ideally, I think I'm going to set the low end expectation to 175 because that would be profitable. But kind of looking at it, talking to my friend, he kind of looked at it and he was like, oh, dude, he's like, yeah, especially with the backyard that we have planned. We're going to have pickleball, mini putt, bocce ball, like a crazy in-ground fire pit. We'll have, I think, the #1 backyard in Joshua Tree if we're able to pull off like any version of the vision that we submitted to our contractor.
Yeah, I'm looking at properties right now for like, just picked a random weekend, like November 13th to 16th. A lot of them are like basically $1,000 a night ish, because that would still, I think, for Joshua Tree 2 be kind of off season. Like the desert in general is full, is like less people.
Yeah, I'm like, because right now the top, this isn't a really good comp, but there's a property that has a lazy river in our part of town that makes $398,000, but it's not that great of a house. So that's like, we'll never beat that because we don't have a lazy river. But there is a house literally on our road, I believe, that makes $298,000 a year. However, it is a 4-bedroom, 4-bath. So they do have that extra bathroom. And then from there, kind of like the bottom set of comps are like the next kind of like 5, 233 to 263. So, and then it goes to 177. So I think 177 to 233 is like a good place to put our expectations. And then we're going to obviously do our best to like exceed that. It gets really fun because once you cover your monthly expenses, man, we can really blow it wide open on the profitability for sure.
Yeah. Joshua Tree is interesting too, because like I'll look at some of the calendars moving forward and I'm like, This is a nice house I'm looking at, 5 bed, 4 bath with a nice backyard, and they don't have anything booked for January yet, and like only Christmas for December. And I'm like, why? Is it because people are more last minute there, or that house is just not doing well, you know?
I think it's, yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, with Conejo, I didn't get a ton of far out bookings. Like the best year I ever had, and honestly, I'm gonna say this, like, I said I made $78,000 that first year.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing was that was the year that you and Levi Kelly both stayed there. And then I had another guy that wasn't an influencer, but it's like I see the video all the time randomly in my algorithm. But it's this guy that came out and did a walkthrough of my property. It's gotten like 30, 40 million views, I think, just across like the random accounts that I've seen. So I would say that first year, Conejo got in the neighborhood of like, probably like, just with you and Levi and Mike, I think he got a lot too. I'd say probably about 5 million views.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually think that maybe that could have made a huge effect on top of the travel boom. And then after that, like influencers can affect your bookings for about a year, and then you see a drop off. So it's on you to kind of always have rotating people every single year. So I think that the creator idea is great, because if we can have people go out there and stay, that could be a huge booking engine for us too.
Yeah, I think it helps. Even I've been doing real estate in LA, and I'm posting about listings, and I'm like, oh my God, like 10 people reached out about this that didn't see it on Zillow or Redfin. So people will see it, even though it's on Airbnb, sometimes people just aren't like even scrolling on there, and they see it on social media and they're like, actually, I do want to go on a trip there, or I do want to like look at that house or whatever. So it's interesting. But yeah, some of these, that is the one thing that makes me nervous. I'm like, dang, a $10,000 a month mortgage is like a lot.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
dude, trust me. I know, because I've got a Scottsdale property that we had to shut down for about a month or two
Yeah.
because we couldn't get our business license. They wouldn't renew it,
Oh,
and our mortgage is like a lot. So it sucks. With that said, we could always sell this thing. And I think you and I are probably open to that. Or I don't know. Are we? I guess we should probably talk about it. But I think we are if someone gave us a crazy offer.
yeah.
Right?
I think it'd be fun to keep it for a couple years and like use it and host people. But it's always like, yeah, if someone out the gate right when we finish it offered something crazy, there's always a price where you're not going to say no, I feel like. But ideal world, it would be great to keep it for at least a couple years and see.
Yeah. I mean, when I built Mariposa, that was like my butterfly house. We built it for $275. We did Airbnb it, but we were like, let's just list it for $675. And we did list it. We had to keep canceling on showings because if we had Airbnb guests. And then finally I was tired of just like always having to tell my realtor, like, dude, I have an Airbnb guest. Like, we're just going to pull it down.
Yeah.
Like, was going to text him and he was like, all right, you got 2 full price offers basically. And me and my partner were like, well, $400K is a lot of money for us. So we took it. So I think it'd be the same here where I'm like, you can list it technically because you're a realtor.
So we wouldn't have to pay a fee.
Let's just see. I mean, I'm down. I know a guy that built a very similar high-end house in Joshua Tree. He's sold it for $1.7 million. It's the Juniper house, I think is what it was called.
I do
I think he
wonder,
spent-
like,
Yeah.
the people buying those, are they also Airbnb-ing it? Or is it because they really want that house and they want to Airbnb it too? I wonder.
I got a couple of theories on it. I've heard different things. My other partner that I've had out in Joshua Tree told me that typically at that price range, it's not really going to pencil for Airbnb because it would be like a $15,000 mortgage or something.
Yeah.
And so he says that it's typically like rich Angelinos that come out and they really want a place in the desert, like really badly. And so they just buy it for their own personal use, and maybe they rent it out, maybe they don't. So it's kind of hard to say. I don't think it would make sense to buy it necessarily as a short-term rental at that price point. I think you might as well go out and build it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because it's a lot more. So they probably just want the convenience of it being done, because it is a lot more hassle to build a house. And also, I feel like, I mean, anyone could figure it out, but like there are a lot of things to know that I probably wouldn't go out of my way to build a house without doing it with someone who's done it before. It's just like easier. So there's probably people who just don't want to deal with learning it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty full-timey,
Yeah.
when we're in the throes of it, because our contractor will start texting things like, hey, how do you want the baseboards to end? Hey, where do you want the tile to begin and end? And it's like things that exist in homes that you've never had to think about. And you have to scrutinize like every tiny little detail. So hopefully, yeah, you'll be able to go out there. I'd like to go out there kind of mid-construction and like walk it with the contractor and figure out some of these details. Because once we start sourcing materials, oh my gosh, man, you and I are going to be like on Zoom every night, like picking out tiles and stuff. But it's really fun.
Yeah, I've already been like, ooh, I should start like looking because it's nice to be able to digest like an idea, a design idea, and be like a month later, like, oh, do I still like that? Or is there anything that would look better, you know? So yeah, that'll be fun, but it will be, once it comes down to picking stuff, more stressful. It's always fun to look on Pinterest or on Airbnb, you know, how people design it. But then when it comes to actually, you know, picking like, okay, which of these are going to go well together? And then all the random little choices like, what grout color? Like,
Dude, I just did that in my LA house, man. And like my wife she was like, you go ahead and just do it all. And I was like, okay, yeah, sounds good. Because we'll argue over little things. But I'm still just like, do I do cream or do I do super cream? And I'm like, I don't know. They look identical and you can only look at like photos online.
yeah.
So yeah, I think you and I are pretty set on like kind of like a neutral deserty look.
Yeah.
So hopefully there won't be
Desert,
too
modern.
many crazy decisions.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a house right now on Airbnb that has a tennis court out there. I know we discussed maybe doing a full court.
I'm still open to that. So I know you've been playing a lot of tennis.
Yeah.
The comps definitely say pickleball.
They do.
However, we can just make it bigger and then do pickleball within tennis. Is that the idea?
People do that. They'll put the lines for pickleball too. And then there's only 2 other houses that have tennis out there. So these are the pros of adding a tennis court. Only 2 other houses have that. So people that want that, you know, there's only 3 to choose from. Whereas now there's kind of a lot that have pickleball. There's probably like 15. I don't know if I were to guess. I see a lot more have added it. The cons though is obviously it's more expensive to build that. And then if it's really windy and sand gets on the court, that's a lot more space to clean off. I think you kind of have to have someone maybe maintain it. So that's where I'm like, oh, maybe it is easier to just do a pickleball court and do that many people really care. But if it was like a cool colored tennis court, I know a lot of tennis influencers could get them out there. People that play tennis, generally, it's kind of an affluent sport like golf. Like, you know, they kind of have money to spend, maybe, some of them.
I'm telling you, I can be talked into it. I really can. I mean, I think I've seen you. I know you play a lot. I'll say this. I had this property in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
And it was not doing well. Same one I was telling you about, because it used to have a tennis court, but it was all cracked and broken. So we didn't advertise it.
Oh.
We changed it. We resurfaced it. We put 3 pickleball courts in. It went gangbusters. But what was really interesting about it was the reason it went gangbusters, same thing with the influencers. There was this girl that went out and stayed at my property. Her name was Pickleball Barbie. I think she's changed her handle now.
Oh, wow.
But she only had like 12,000 followers. It wasn't anything crazy. But her reel got like 4 million views, literally.
Wow.
And like it just felt like this instant shift and just like bam. Like I was having $40,000 a month, the $40,000 months, just like from the year previous to that, having $12,000 months and losing money.
Yeah.
So it tripled bookings. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I mean, if we can get a couple of those, honestly, sky's the limit. And it's a marginal cost, probably not marginal, but probably like another 5 to 10K in concrete, probably, to get the whole like tennis court in.
Yeah, I'm not
and
sure.
yeah, if you think there are people in LA that would travel out, why not?
I think so, because tennis is huge in LA now. I feel like it's a lot of people are into it, and the courts are limited here. So if they know they can go and play all they want, I guess the only thing is we can't really do lights because there's like the light ordinance. But it's like, okay, you play during the day, like that's fine.
This is a new thing I'm doing. So basically, I don't like the ruckus. That's the one thing about having these super backyards and super amenity driven places in Joshua Tree is that sometimes or not in Joshua Tree, just in the country, you kind of create these atmospheres where people want to hang out outside and it can become a problem. So kind of our philosophy, like especially my partners at Funkit, is like with our own properties, we kind of shut down at 10, just like a hotel. A hotel, you can't necessarily use the pool or like certain the courts or whatever. They also turn off the lights and shut down at a certain time.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we do with our property is like we have quiet hours at 10. We make the lights so that they can't turn on in the middle of the night and people can't play pickleball at night. And I think we'll just have less issues with our neighbors. Not that we have any neighbors, but
there's some
neighbors,
like
I guess,
in the distance, but it's like, yeah, we have 5 acres, so they're not like next door.
Yeah. Yeah. We're on 5 acres, pretty far away from everybody. I'm not sweating it, but it could be an issue. So I think that's like, I don't know if a light is budgeted in, but yeah. Is there an ordinance specifically against nighttime sport court lights, or are you just saying like,
I know in Yucca Valley
like
they have rules about lights, but I'm not sure about Joshua Tree actually. But I look on some of these listings and I don't see a lot of like the courts don't have lights, so probably not because they want to be able to see the stars and everything. One of these
that
is
makes sense.
a pickleball court with a basketball hoop and like a semicircle for basketball. That's kind of a good idea.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that my partner Blue was trying to tell me that too. He was like, dude, you should just add basketball. And I'm like, no, our demographic's not a basketball player. And he goes, I know, but it's so easy. He's like, you can just have them do it. It costs you like, a little bit of more paint for the line and a basketball goal. But he's like, you just add one more amenity to it. But I'm like, I don't know. Is the vibe of basketball on top of a tennis court and a pickleball court,
A lot.
does that ruin the vibe or is that like fine?
Well, okay, there is a court in Bel Air that I play at sometimes that you can book, and they have just a movable basketball hoop, but no line for it. I think if there are
Yeah.
lines for pickleball, tennis, and basketball, that would be too many lines. It's like pick two, you know?
Yeah.
But I like the color of this court. This one is really cool.
Yeah, this is really nice. Very deserty, black. I wonder if that's my buddies. Oh yeah, the co-host company. I know those guys.
Yeah.
I also ran it by these guys. These guys manage 150 properties, and they pretty much were like, "Yep, if you do that backyard blueprint, you'll make as much as you're hoping to make." And I was like, "All right, that's good to know."
Which would be great.
Check this one out.
Yes.
Okay, so this one,
I love that one.
Yeah, is that a tennis court?
Yeah,
or
that's
no?
a full tennis court. So that's the thing though, they put a fence around it. So I feel like with pickleball you don't really need to do a fence because the ball isn't probably going to go that far away, like you can chase it. But I guess if it's tennis and people like you could just not have one, but there would definitely be balls that just end up like way out there.
So this property does 244K.
Wow.
Granted, there are a couple things. It's closer to the valley,
Yeah.
or to the village, so it's in the middle of Joshua Tree. It has a crazy view. Like that is a photo that we can't really beat.
That's a really cool photo.
But I would say, from a quality standpoint, we're gonna be. Well, they're doing some cool stuff. Like I actually think it's a pretty well put together listing. But architecturally, I think we're gonna be pretty like, dang, they did a good job.
Yeah, I like a little bit of tennis
Wow.
decor is kind of fun.
Yeah, but it's a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath. So theoretically, we're in that zone. I'd have to run like a true audit to see. But based on my buddy who's on our street and other people in the backyard that we're set to build, I think it's gonna be a success. So I'm excited to have you boots on the ground, cleaning after every turnover.
Me doing the
fixing all the
cleanings.
leaky toilet. It's gonna make a great video.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I wouldn't even do as good of a job as the cleaners do. Like professional cleaners, they're just so good at it, you know? It's like, wow. And they're very efficient.
Yeah. So do you know the timeline on this? Like, what are you expecting? How quickly do you think this will be built?
I think it'll
based on
be,
kind of like
once we
conversation.
start and break ground, I think it'll be a year.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I hope-
Yeah.
It's usually about that. I'm hoping it takes 9 months, like the majority of it. But a year is a good place to start. I would say 12 to 14 months typically ends up being where we net out.
Mhm.
But I know for a fact our contractor doesn't have like a full slate of builds. So if he really prioritizes this, like we could probably get in that 9 to 12 month range for sure.
Yeah, that I think would be good. Yeah, because our contractor's pretty on it. I think for most things they get delayed because of the contractor, but it sounds like he's ready. So
Yeah.
unless that
This one was actually
changes.
not on him. He's been very proactive.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we end up here? What is the biggest lesson that you've learned, and what are you looking forward to the most with this build?
Ooh. Well, for the construction process, I think one thing I've learned is like while it does take time, you really can figure out each step. You just have to call someone and ask. And they are helpful. Like the city permit people, everyone I've called actually is helpful. My expectations were much worse from what people tell me about permit processes everywhere and like the water companies and everything. Um so yeah, it's like a bit of a hassle and it just takes a while to like do all those steps because it'll be like, oh, you have to do one thing. It doesn't actually take that long, like 5-10 minute call. But then it takes 2 weeks for them to get back to you. So I'm like, okay, it's doable, but it's just a lot of steps. It would definitely be confusing to do if I wasn't doing it with you and I was just trying to do it on my own. I'd be like, what do I do? I'd be having to make a
Yeah.
lot more calls probably.
Okay, and what are you hoping? What are you looking forward to the most on this build?
I'm looking forward to going out there and making content about it. Like, I think it'll be really fun to have a project again to share updates. I think it's so fun picking the finishes of things too and the furniture when it gets to that. And if we do a tennis court like that, that's probably what I would look forward to the most is the inaugural tennis match on the court or pickleball. If that's what ends up being like that too, I feel like that'd be fun. And like bringing people out there. The content will
That's a
be
great
fun.
idea. Why don't
Yeah.
that's something that we've done in the past. Typically, Funkit will kind of arrange like a big like an event so that we can get lifestyle photos.
Mhm.
So maybe we can select a few people from our audiences and have like a pickleball tournament or something like that, or a tennis tournament, and get like some lifestyle photography for the photo set. And yeah, I think lifestyle photography is very in nowadays. I think that's like a really hot trend on the Airbnb stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. What are you looking forward to with it?
Dude, honestly, I really like the construction process and like seeing photo. Like it's one of the few things in real estate where you really see progress. Like with Airbnb, you don't necessarily see progress when you have a listing. You just have a listing and you run it and you make money. But like there's a tangible feeling to building, like when you frame a house and you walk into that house for the first time, which I guess I don't know if you've done this, but like it's going to be the greatest feeling you've ever had because you're just
Whoa.
going to be like, wow, like I built this. And that feeling never gets old, no matter how many houses I build, no matter how many times I do it. Walking into a framed out house is like you feel on top of the world. So I'm excited for that process. And I'm excited to like maybe get in there and do a few things. I've been wallpapering a lot.
Oh,
So,
cool.
we should probably hire someone to wallpaper for us, but I kind of like doing it. So I think I'll probably go out there and do that for some of the rooms that we have planned.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my camera died. So I'm looking forward to framing out the house, walking through it. But I think the universe is saying that this podcast is over. Thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun. Haven't recorded in a while. A
Yeah.
podcast,
If you
yeah.
want to, if you're at home and you're like, hey, what does your house look like? What is it? What's it going to be? Shelby did a whole video where she like, you hired a designer. They like 3D rendered it out. They did a bunch of cool stuff. You guys can go watch that right over here after you're done with
Yeah,
this
go
part.
check it out. I need to rewatch it and see what it looks like. It's been a minute. No, I
It's really
remember for the
nice.
most part. Yeah, it'll be cool.